Nigam. Shriya, coming to you first, as we wait for that Ministry of External Affairs press briefing to get underway about 15 minutes from now, and of course that Imran Khan address to the nation. What do you make of what's been happening since the morning? There is no doubt that Pakistan has sought to escalate matters. They have tried to violate the Indian airspace, though of course their fighter jets were forced to return. What they're also saying is that we have no intention to escalate. We were only demonstrating our capability. However, this is a raw country that you are dealing with, and none of their claims can be taken at face value.
Neha, it's a lot of hot air. Look at the Karachi Stock Exchange, the only real stock exchange that exists in Pakistan. It is down 1,100 points. See, what it means is, and also remember that most of the business infrastructure in Pakistan is run by the ex-generals. So essentially the military also runs the business in Pakistan, and the common people are fleeing the markets. That tells you a big story that they will not have money from the stock market to fall back upon. I'm sorry to kind of digress from this, but what I'm trying to say is the reality tells you otherwise. Whatever saber-rattling, posturing that Pakistan may attempt to do, the reality is that people are starving.
That is going to resume shortly. Okay, Shriya, coming back to you. You know, since yesterday, we've been talking about how rattled Pakistan has been, how unnerved, confused they seem to be by what's going on, because clearly they were caught off guard, they were stunned into disbelief by the action of the Indian Air Force, something that had never happened since the 1971 war. We also had a very laughable statement coming out from the Defence Minister of Pakistan, who said, "Hum to tayar the, hamari Air Force to tayar thi, lekin raat ka andhera tha, isliye pata nahi chala kya ho gaya." But also, given all the contradictions that have emerged from the Pakistani camp since yesterday, it is very clear that there is a state of utter consternation in that country. However, this is also a country, Mr. Iyer, which has its back to the wall, which has a rogue army, whose very raison d'etre is its anti-India sentiment, and therefore they are under pressure to be seen as retaliating against India, to be seen as teaching India a lesson. Therefore, the question is, can we expect good sense to finally prevail on Pakistan, given that international opinion is firmly on India's side? Not one country has come out in support of Pakistan since yesterday. Not one country has uttered one word of criticism or condemnation against India. So international opinion is firmly on India's side. And therefore, do you expect good sense to finally prevail on Pakistan? Can we expect Pakistan to back off and not escalate matters further? Or is this a country that is just too desperate to be seen as retaliating against India right now?
You know, there's an underlying message that has not been told in words, but that has been felt. India called Pakistan's nuclear bluff. So that option is off the table. There is whatever you want to make of it, that's not going to happen. The second thing is, I have my own doubts about whether the salaries are being paid to the armed forces in Pakistan. Remember, you said this, and I thought it was less than that. You said there are only 14 days of foreign exchange for import. With the MFN sanctions coming in, import duties kicking in, you know, and the fear that there may not be enough water going around, you know, there is a real feeling of panic right now in Pakistan. And what you might see is sort of like knee-jerk reactions where, you know, some flights come out, they start firing on the LOC or on the international border. But I expect that reality will start sinking in. Expect problems to happen, start, you know, eruption from Sindh, Balochistan and other non-Punjab states. You know, for a longest time, Pakistan also has tried to settle Punjabis in the other states, and I'm not sure how well that has been received by the locals. You see, even in POK, I hear that a lot of Punjabis have been settled there. The reason I'm saying all this is Pakistan is getting reduced to West Punjab. And how long can this elastic band stretch?
From all our panelists, Shriya, starting with you, what we now do know officially from the Ministry of External Affairs is that one Pakistani fighter jet was shot down this morning. India unfortunately lost one MiG-21 fighter jet of its own, and in the process a pilot has gone missing. Pakistan claims they have him in their custody. India not confirming that, saying we're ascertaining the facts.
first off, India has played by the rules of engagement. They have not, done anything that is called as, transgression or anything like that. They were merely responding to an F-16 attack on their camp. And the fact about one of their pilots being captured, now that they have claimed that he's alive, they better make sure that he stays that way. Now, there will be a real process of going and bringing him back. I mean, that's according to, again, there are, rules and engagement that are there. But let's not forget the big picture. India is now confident that it can protect its airspace. All the all the airports are back up and running, even in the north, which means that India is fairly confident that they can, they've kind of constructed a shield to ward off attacks from Pakistan. And I expect that the next phase of mischief from Pakistan might start from whatever remnants they've had from the Pulwama encounter. Because remember that the RDX that came in for that was not done the usual way of across the border, but they seem to have come from some other place. So who knows what else they have. So that's where India needs to be very vigilant. And I think this is going to start, playing down very, very fast. After all, at the end of the day, the generals are also businessmen. They would want to try and see what best they can do about their stock exchange. I mean, if they keep doing this, their stock exchange is going to tank.
So Pakistan already showing its true colors to the international community. Geneva Convention already violated by Pakistan. The question really is what happens next, and as far as getting this pilot freed is concerned, if he's indeed in Pakistani custody, what are the steps that India needs to take next? Shri Iyer, how do you look at this entire situation?
I'm also watching some of the pictures, and I think India can confirm if it is indeed the same missing pilot or not. But it's really regrettable that Pakistan is again trying to use this to somehow claim victory that yes, we have one of yours too. But come on now, you attacked India first. So this is totally against Geneva Air Conventions and war conventions. And again, see what is it trying to achieve from all these things? First off, they have a huge economic crisis on their hands. If people are going to starve, there's going to be a civil war on their hands. And we all know that there's only one state that is trying to rule the entire country. How many Punjabis is it going to take before they realize that, look, our own state people are now rising against us? And I believe that that is already happening, because many people said that the election of Imran Khan as president was more a selection and that the polls were rigged.
Act of war.
But again, going by their track record, it doesn't inspire much confidence. Going by whether what they did to Captain Nachiketa, whether it was Captain Saurabh Kalia, Pakistan's track record doesn't inspire any confidence. But Shriya, you wanted to make an intervention before I take this back to Mr. Datta. The point that I'm really making is that the nature of retaliation is such that it tends to be cyclical, whether we like it or not. Do you think at this stage, the international community in countries like China will be able to bring enough pressure to bear on Pakistan and say, well, it is time for you to back down because we do not want a further escalation. Nobody wants a war.
I expect that to happen, not just from China, but also from the United States. I was just looking up the numbers on the amount of money Pakistan received from United States under the Kerry-Lugar bill. Now, this bill has a huge rider. At any time, the US government feels that Pakistan is being run by its military, and I believe this is a moment that would tip the scales in that direction, that aid will be completely cut off. The last numbers I have is that out of 6 billion promised, only 4.6 billion has been given to Pakistan. The last numbers were 300 billion in 2016, meaning 2017 and 18, under this bill, Pakistan hasn't got a single dime from the United States. Now, there are other things that the United States allows for funding for Pakistan. Think of it like this. United States keeps the lawn from going dry. They just keep putting a little bit of water once in a while so that the lawn doesn't completely go dry. That's how it sees Pakistan, because it needs it for its engagement in Afghanistan. Long story short, this is proof enough for the responsible governments such as United States to say enough is enough. You get back, let the political government come to the front and deal with this like it is a crisis and back down. And I also expect that the situation in the Kashmir Valley is going to improve dramatically because a lot of the oxygen has been cut off.
All right. Mr. Iyer, you want to come in there that this is a sensitive, crucial time right now. There is a certain confirmation that has come in from the MEA as far as that pilot who's missing, and also at the same time, look at the lies that Pakistan was spreading, the propaganda that it was spreading, and how, of course, we did a fact check. We busted some of those myths that Pakistan was spreading, and now it's clear what Pakistan is really looking to do from here on.
You're going to expect this from Pakistan. I mean, they are not really a sane democracy. They are just lashing and they are clinging to hope that somehow by using this one captured prisoner that they say, yes, everything is fine, we've got one of yours. But they forget the fact that they tried to attack one of India's military installations. I mean,
yes.
That is an act of war in itself. And all India was doing was merely defending itself. So, this is madness. And I think it's going to stop when whatever the last water tap of funding that Pakistan is getting right now gets stopped. And if you will indulge me for a minute, I want to mention one thing about the CPEC corridor project. That corridor cuts through about 90% of Pakistan's population, 2 big roads. And as this thing starts coming online, you can bet your bottom dollar that China is going to man that thing every step of the way. In a sense, you're going to have a China-controlled Pakistan unless some things get changed.
Yes.
And I think that would be a much, much worse scenario because that might be the lender of last hope for Pakistan.
You want to come in there, sir?
Yes, I can't help but think that did India miss a trick when McMasters came calling a year and a half ago requesting India's help in policing Afghanistan? Because at that point they came asking for help and India said no, and then they went back and sat down and started talking to Taliban. Imagine if India had said yes, United States would have opened its arsenal to us. We would have had the access to some of the best weapons so that you can minimize the number of soldiers involved in this, and it would have been a very effective circling of Pakistan. Now you still have this Taliban somehow clinging on to hope that somehow US will still do a deal with them, and I think this back channel talks need to be resumed. Whatever be the wisdom of India and not saying yes to them that time, today India needs to come in and say yes, we will help you in Afghanistan, and that way we can contain Pakistan, and that would be good for the whole region.
Mr. Shriyam Iyer, let me ask you this now. The question that I asked Mr. Group Captain Mr. Jha as well, that what do you do next as far as India is concerned? It was an act of war when they hit out, or they tried to hit our military installations. All their actions were subverted by the Indian Air Force. But the next crucial steps that India will be taking is going to be very, very important for resetting the Indo-Pak relations, so to say.
Yes, I think first off, India would try to get back its its injured pilot, and for that they would have to go through diplomatic channels and show proof to Pakistan that look, you were hitting at our military installations, and therefore we had to defend. And this is in this process that this person strayed into Pak-occupied Kashmir, and that would be the first thing. And I don't think India would want to talk about anything else until this matter is resolved. I've been seeing some disturbing video, and like you said, I respect your channels, wanting to wait and make sure that it is official. And it's important. The important thing is he's alive, and that establishes a date marker, and they would have to return him alive. And the prayers for his safe return. Now, the bigger picture here is, what is China going to do? They have already invested a lot of money into the CPEC corridor. And what are they going to do with Pakistan, trying to lash out at India? It's exactly the word I would like to use. They are just lashing out. They know they cannot go for a full-fledged war. They know that they can't even try and infiltrate the line of control and hope and try and see the Kashmiri population would say, yes, we want to be with you. I don't think that's going to happen. All they were trying to do is use a small set of corrupt players to keep fomenting trouble. After all, India is a large state, and you can, create mischief by, setting off bombs here and there or throwing stones and so on and so forth. It's, this is a losing battle. They've been losing this for a long time. Now it's like they've been caught with their cookie hand in the cookie jar. And I think the world now is saying enough is enough. You guys have to get your act together. And their last friends, in my opinion, are Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and China. And I think China has a bigger stake here, and I don't know what they are going to do. In fact, I also want to mention to our viewers that their attempt to connect Gilgit-Baltistan area with China has run into a lot of problems. One time there was an earthquake and the entire section of the highway fell and a new lake got formed in that place. And what I'm trying to say is, entry into the Gilgit-Baltistan area from China's side is a very tricky one. And they have tried second time. I don't know if it's going to stay, if there's another earthquake, what's going to happen. So this whole
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Mr. Iyer.
We should look at the cost of one F-16. It is close to $18 million today. And I can't imagine Pakistan having a lot of F-16s. And I believe the F-16 that was shot down was actually shot down by a Sukhoi,
yes,
which is probably the first time an Eastern made plane actually took down a Western made plane. I mean, the F-16 is a technically superior plane. In fact, India is planning on manufacturing some parts for the F-16. The wings to start with, and who knows where that relationship might end. India might start building F-16s for the whole world, including for its own use. So there is a whole lot of ground shifting that is going on right now. US is beginning to trust India more and more as a responsible partner, not only in business field, but also in the armed forces field, because they need to contain China. So India is in a good place right now, and if they just play a few cards right, we could be really, galloping in terms of our growth. And once that happens, nothing is going to stop. I mean, India will be number 2 in PPP terms in about 10-15 years.
Right, absolutely.
Airspace.
And as we speak, I did hear just before entering the studio, I was hearing what Imran Khan had to say. We didn't play that out because we don't want to put out any Pakistani propaganda on the broadcast on our network. But he is pretty much saying exactly, Shri Iyer, what he said after the Pulwama attack, what he spoke after that as well. And there is no difference since then as far as what you would expect the Pakistani Prime Minister to say. He's once again said that it's time to now have dialogue. You cannot have dialogue with a country who's trying to hit out your military installations. Yes, they've been shot down by our Sukhois, but the fact is that is what the Pakistanis were aiming to do.
The time for dialogue is long gone. I don't think India should engage in anything other than trying to get their warrior back, the Air Force pilot. Now, listen, it's not Imran Khan who's speaking. It is the Pakistan army, which is essentially using him as a mouthpiece. And he has no decision-making powers. He is just, anytime the Pakistani polity has tried to break itself out of the clutches of its army, it has been with disastrous consequences, starting from the elder Bhutto. Now, this facade can only go for so long. I think it's like, who's going to blink first, whether it is China or Saudi Arabia, the two big benefactors of Pakistan. I'm actually ruling out US at this point, because US, it's almost down to a trickle right now, the funding aid from US. So once these two pull the plug, I mean, Pakistan is going to be, having a civil war on its hands. They don't have any industry worth the name. They don't know how to produce anything, and one of the biggest markets has shut its doors to them. So, they're in a world of hurt, and then they think that they can go and do misadventure in Iran, in Afghanistan, in addition to India. Come on now, they opened 3 different flanks. That's a hugely lose-lose proposition for them.
Action.
Mr. Iyer, you had a point to make?
Yes, I'd like Wing Commander Jha to confirm this. I believe under Geneva Convention, the window is 7 days. Pakistan is supposed to return the Wing Commander unharmed in 7 days. And second thing, I'm just reading breaking news that the United States has told Pakistan that it cannot use any of its weapons without getting permission from the United States. So I think this misadventure of the F-16, I think it is done for now. In fact, that might be the clue as to why India decided to open all its civilian airspace now, because they know that the US is now breathing down on Pakistan's neck.
Right, absolutely. And what happens from here on is going to be extremely important. I'm just seeing, some of the news flow that's coming in. We still don't know what will be the action that New Delhi is going to take. Remember, Prime Minister did cut short his visit earlier in the day. There have been a round of discussions and meetings that have been taking place, both Defence Ministry as well as Home Ministry. And of course, there have been those round of discussions that the Prime Minister has held as far as the National Security Advisor is concerned. How soon, Mr. Iyer, is your sense that we will know India's next course of action?
I think you have to wait for this next 7 days. And I think if what US has said is true, then Pakistan, essentially, their hands are tied. It is almost as if US has put a no-fly zone for Pakistan, saying that you cannot use our equipment, you cannot use our planes without, getting prior permission from us. And in this, the responsible behavior of India, wherein they just went after the terrorist target with 0 civilian casualty, it speaks volume that India is a responsible democracy, it's got a disciplined armed forces unit, and that it always measures its response in appropriation to what was the attack. So all these things are messages that India is conveyed to the world that, look, we have been exercising utmost restraint, and when we are threatened like this, we have no choice but to retaliate.
As I said, there is a reason why we have chosen to not play out that statement of Imran Khan, because we're not going to put out any propaganda, any of those lies that Pakistanis have been peddling all through the day. Mr. Iyer, let me ask you this question, that we strongly rejected the Pakistani claims of shooting down our Indian jets. Remember, they were just, so much of propaganda that was being run by Pakistanis. But at the end of the day, as I said, both diplomatically as well as militarily, what are our options? And, let me ask you this, is time of essence here?
I think we have to give some time for the diplomatic channels to play out. For instance, I mentioned in our previous conversation that according to Geneva Convention, the wing commander has to be returned within 7 days. And if that does not happen, then India will have to start measuring what would be an appropriate response. Thus far, India has always been acting as in a reactionary mode or with restraint. And this is, that's how a responsible democracy should do. So I think India has been exceedingly patient, and 7 days is not going to be a long time. And I think Pakistan is in a spot because there's a lot of proof that he has been captured alive. In fact, he was mishandled, his nose was broken, but the fact remains that he's alive, and they cannot wish that thing away now and say that, he's, something else. So you have to wait for these 7 days and see what happens.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let me get in Shri Iyer on that. Mr. Iyer, I'm reading from the statement, and it is shocking that the matter about the missing aircraft pilot is the 3rd paragraph in that statement. The biggest time, in fact, has been dedicated to saying that there is politicization of the sacrifices made by our armed forces by leaders of the ruling party.
Opposition is clutching at straws here. Prime Minister Modi has not uttered a single word about what happened, surgical strike 2.
In fact, the only statement that has come in is from the MEA. Even our armed forces have not said a word till now. It is the MEA that has said.
Exactly. Exactly. And as to the British and the Chinese envoys visiting MEA, I see that as a good thing. In my opinion, what the Chinese envoy might be trying to say is, yes, Pakistan is an aircraft that is about to crash land. Let's make sure that the landing is a little bit smooth so that it hurts the fewest amount of people. That's how I interpret those two meetings. And as far as opposition is concerned, I wonder if Mr. Sitaram Yechuri wrote that, because they're just clutching at straws. Come on now. I mean, this is something where the country should unite and oppose these acts of indiscretion by Pakistan, and they're somehow trying to see if there is any way they can try to get some political mileage out of it. It's very regrettable.
This is deplorable. This is just deplorable. Stay with us, sir. Shriya Mayar, you have a point to make, because then I want to get in Ambassador Prakash. Yes.
Yes, I expect Pakistan to return Wing Commander who's been captured. And if it does not happen, I think India has several diplomatic tools that they can use first. First off, they could withdraw the UN resolution of 1948. That would clearly signal that India considers the Pak-occupied Kashmir as its own and that it is in enemy territory. If that doesn't yield results, a few days later, they could recognize the Balochistan government and let them have a government in exile in India. See, these things don't require us to, shoot even a single bullet. But what happens is we're continuously pushing Pakistan away from, into a corner. And I think those are the things that India can try. And if it still doesn't happen, if the Wing Commander isn't still returned, then of course we'll have to consider more stringent measures.
Best avoid it.
Absolutely. Shriya Mayar, you want to come in there, sir?
Typical Diplo speak, he danced all over our suggestion that India withdraw the 1948 UN resolution. I'm talking about the ambassador. But that is fine. I mean, that's what diplomats do. But, we have to start doing things that would not, cost us, militarily. We shouldn't have to, fight and, shoot another bullet if we have other tools in our arsenal. For example, why not withdraw the 1948 UN resolution? I'm specifically asking that question because that was done without cabinet approval.